Is it hereditary? Harry following in the shadow of Edward's infamy. Hey guys, today I have some spicy gossip to share with you. I was reading this biography about Wallace and Edward, and let me tell you, the dirt on these royals is juicy. Did you know that Edward once dressed up as a member of the Ku Klux Klan for a costume party? It's shocking how close it looks to a Nazi uniform, don't you think? It's not just their questionable taste in companions that's got me drawing comparisons, either. No, Harry and Edward share a lot of other similarities too. They're both entitled, whiny, and constantly complain about how the royal family just isn't giving them enough respect or money. Harry's always badgering them about elevating his shrewish wife, just like Edward used to badger them about his divorced lover. But what really gets me is how they both seem to forget that they're just regular citizens now. Edward wanted to address the nation after he abdicated, but Queen Mary quickly reminded him that no one was interested in what he had to say. Maybe Harry could learn a thing or two from his great-uncle on that front. After all, he's always acting like he's still a duke or something. Ingrid Seward, in her biography of Harry, once described him as Queen Elizabeth's most dangerous grandchild. And I gotta say, after reading about Edward, I can see why. When these guys walk away, they never really walk away. They may leave the cons behind, but they still expect all the pros. It's like they can't bear to give up any of their privileges. Queen Mary really hit the nail on the head when she told Edward that no one was interested in what he had to say anymore. It takes some serious egotism to give up an important position like that, and then still expect people to listen to you. There's a story about Edward's brother that reminds me of Harry, too. The Duke of Windsor used to keep calling the king to whine about what he wanted. He was like a needy guest who never paid his own way and even left his hostess with an expensive phone bill. And all he ever gave her was a photograph of himself. Can you imagine? Harry better watch out before he becomes just like his great-uncle. It has come to my attention that some parallels exist between the Duke and Duchess of Windsor and Harry and Meghan, especially when it comes to their public image and perception. From the way they dress to their relationships and general behavior, it seems like Harry and Meghan have taken cues from the infamous couple. Edward VIII, or as he was known, David, never wanted to be king. He was always regarded as a bit of a black sheep in the family and was content to live a carefree life of luxury and indulgence. He saw an opportunity to escape from the burdens of the crown when he fell in love with Wallis Simpson, a divorced American socialite. However, their relationship was a scandalous affair that the public and the royal family did not approve of. Similarly, Harry and Meghan also faced public backlash for their unconventional relationship, from their interracial union to their decision to step back from royal duties. However, unlike Edward, who abdicated the throne to be with Wallis, Harry and Meghan chose to leave the royal family and seek a new life in America. But the similarities don't end there. Like Wallis, Meghan is known for her stylish fashion sense and often dresses like a duchess, much like the Duchess of Windsor. And like Edward, Harry has been accused of being whiny and entitled, constantly complaining about the royal family's lack of support and attention. Edward had a group of supporters who were unaware of his allegiance to the Nazi regime and his ex-girlfriends. He was subservient to Wallis, whom he adored and begged the royal family to address as HRH even during wartime. Harry's situation is not much different, as he is rumored to have befriended Russian oligarchs and often complains about his lack of funds. It's easy to blame nature for the difficulties of being in the royal family, but much of it can also be attributed to nurture, as the role of the spare diminishes with every niece or nephew that comes from the joining of their elder sibling spouse. Harry and Andrew are aware of this and know that their options are limited, which may explain their questionable actions in the past. The Duke of Windsor's story is a cautionary tale of a man who had everything but lost it all for the love of a woman. Meghan and Harry's story may not have the same ending, but they seem to be on a similar path. Before King George died, he instilled the same sense of duty into his daughter, Elizabeth II, who took her position, as we all know, incredibly seriously. The same notions and systems that have been instilled in Charles and now William: never complain, never explain, keep the system going. Captives of their situation of birth, it is a gilded cage, but it is still a cage. For that, I feel pity for the monarchs and their spouses, but they buy into the system and keep it going for all. So back to nature versus nurture. Just like any family, the Windsors have their bad seeds whom are given a life of privilege, protection and wealth, but there is no motivation for those who are superfluous, especially if they feel that their purpose is meaningless and insults their perception of their gender. Queen Elizabeth tried to breach that gap with Andrew, who was the original half-in and half-out princeling, but it was all for naught. Andrew had all the privileges and none of the pressures, so he used idiot, vain-glorious magical thinking. Such that Q Stark, a former porn star, liked him for his sparkling personality, that everyone of his squad in school or the Navy thought he was aces, that he was some kind of entrepreneurial genius as the UK trade envoy, or Andrew Epstein thought he was just a really swell guy. Harry is Andrew Mark II, but without the indulgent monarch. Charles saw what his mother's kid gloving did to Andrew. No matter how strong the bond is between father and child, he doesn't just have an immediate family to protect, he has an entire system, that includes all his relatives, to keep in place. He's not going to let one tearaway spoil it for his siblings, their families, their children, and all the people they employ. Ultimately, Charles III is going to have to let Harry go for good of the rest of the system. Even if keeping the system going will pain him personally, but it won't be all Charles III's fault. A friend of mine remembers living down the street in London when they would use the trooping of the Guardsman Yard as a helipad. Numerous times, she just saw from a distance Harry as a kid, running away from his protection officers just to push their buttons, Diana cheering him on, as she leaned on teenaged Wills as one would a bodyguard or spouse. His self-indulgence isn't a new thing, just a thing that is no longer hidden by the palace. In the eyes of many, Harry is a lost cause. He was coddled and spoiled by his mother, Diana, who showered him with excessive indulgence that he could never seem to shake off. And as a royal, he was granted numerous free passes and privileges that were beyond the reach of ordinary people. But now, it appears that Harry's sense of entitlement has left him vulnerable to a rude awakening in the real world. The problem with Harry is not that he's unique in his failings, far from it. Countless individuals around the world struggle with similar issues, but they don't have the luxury of their lives being broadcasted on the world stage. The Windsors are not immune to having black sheep in their family, and Harry is undoubtedly one of them. As for Meghan, she's just another example of a narcissist that marries into a family and turns everything upside down. It's a tale as old as time, yet somehow, people act like it's something new and unprecedented. It's just another day in the life of the royals, but now, the whole world is watching. So what will they do? Find out on the next video. Thanks for watching this video, I hope you found it informative and enjoyable. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel for more content like this. And as always, don't forget to hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest uploads. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.